All right, let's get right into it. We're talking secret recordings, a really messy divorce, and one single court case that completely changed the game for electronic evidence. It's a fascinating story. So just imagine this for a second. You're in some kind of nasty legal fight, and you have it, a secret recording that could blow your case wide open. But is it your smoking gun? Or is a judge just going to throw it out? It's a huge question, right? Well, a landmark court case in India actually gave us the answer to that exact question. And we're going to walk through the story of how a simple CD, a CD, in a divorce case ended up setting this powerful precedent for all kinds of electronic evidence we use today. So where does it all begin? Well, like a lot of these big legal dramas, it starts with a very human story. You've got a husband and wife, and they are in the middle of a really heated divorce battle. And the husband, he thinks he has a secret weapon. He walks in with a compact disc, a CD, and says, "This has recordings of my wife that prove my case." So what was on this thing? Why was it so important? Well, the husband claimed it was a recording of his wife telling him to get out of her father's house because she wanted a divorce. To him, this was everything. This was the proof he needed. And just like that, the battle lines are drawn. We're heading for a courtroom showdown. The whole case, literally the whole thing, is balancing on this one piece of evidence. And you better believe both sides came ready for a fight. Okay, so this is where the legal arguments really kick into high gear. On one side, the wife's lawyers are saying, nope, throw this CD out. Why? Because it's not the original recording, and it wasn't properly sealed to show it hadn't been messed with. But the husband's team comes back swinging. They argue, look, as long as the conversation is relevant to the case, we can identify the voices, and the recording is accurate, it has to be admissible. And this really gets to the heart of the problem, you know? The CD was a copy. The original recording, nobody knows what device it was on, and it was never actually brought to court. So that leaves this massive question hanging in the air. Can you really, truly trust a copy when the original is nowhere to be found? And this is the moment the judge steps in and just cuts right through all the noise. The final verdict here, it wasn't just about this one husband and wife. No, the court laid out a crystal clear playbook for how to handle electronic evidence from that point on. And you know what it all came down to? The number 3. That's it. The court gave us 3 simple tests, 3 hoops any recorded conversation has to jump through to be considered real evidence. So what are they? First up, relevancy. Pretty simple. Is this conversation even relevant to what we're talking about here? Second, identification. Can you actually prove whose voices are on that recording? And third, and this is the big one, accuracy. Is this recording authentic? Has it been edited, tampered with, or changed in any way? So the court gave the CD a legal label, secondary evidence. It's just a fancy way of saying it's a copy. But, and this is the real game changer, the judge said that even though it's a copy, it can still be used in court, as long as it passes those 3 tests we just talked about. I mean, this was a massive deal. And the judge didn't stop there. They made another really smart distinction between civil and criminal trials. See, in a criminal case, if the police collect evidence, it has to be sealed up tight to prove no one messed with it. That's the chain of custody. But the judge ruled that in a civil case, like this divorce, where a regular person is doing the recording, that rule doesn't really apply. It's on them to present the evidence accurately. So, you might be thinking, why are we digging up a case from 2011 about a CD? Well, it's because the shockwaves from this ruling are still being felt today, and it affects way more than just old school tech. Just look at how much technology has evolved. We went from tape cassettes to CDs, then pen drives, smartphones. Now we're talking about files stored in the cloud. The tech keeps changing, right? But the principles from this one case, they still apply. Those 3 rules, relevancy, identification, and accuracy, are the same rules used today to decide if a piece of digital evidence is legit, no matter what device it came from. That's the real genius of this ruling. It created a framework that was basically future-proof. It gave our entire justice system a practical, flexible approach so that the law could actually keep up with the crazy pace of technology. And this quote from the court says it all, really. In a tape-recorded conversation, the electronic mode substitutes the human evidence. Think about that. The court was saying a recording isn't just backup anymore. It can be the witness, a perfect snapshot of a moment in time. So what's the big takeaway for you here? It's this. Yeah, a secret recording can be super powerful evidence. It can change everything, but it's not a free pass. It has to pass some really strict tests of authenticity before a court will even listen to it. And this whole story leaves us with a much bigger, kind of thorny question, doesn't it? In a world where our phones are always on and we're constantly recording, where is the line? Where do we draw that line between using technology to find evidence and just invading someone's privacy? Definitely something to chew on.